Hey everyone, welcome to another session of CeerazzleDazzle Physics. In today's session, we'll be talking about fossil fuels, guys, and power stations. So put down today's title, it's going to be fossil fuels and power stations. Before we get going, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button to keep my channel going and keep my content as free as possible, guys. Okay, let's get straight into it with the following big question. Okay, so what is a fossil fuel? Fossil fuels are formed from the remains of dead plants and organisms over millions and millions of years. So in this diagram, guys, you can see I've got a ditch, and we can see that there is loads of dead plants and organisms, trees, leaves, ferns, and there's some organisms down here. What happens is, as time goes on, soil starts to build up above it. Yeah, so layers and layers of soil, mud starts to build up upon them. I'm just going to change the color as well over here. So look, multiple layers build up as time goes on. And as the layers build up, guys, what they're going to do is the layers, one more layer on top. There we go. Here's a thick layer on top. What happens is as the multiple layers build up, there's a lot of heat and compression, and over millions and millions of years, the dead plants and organisms turn into the fossil fuels, guys. So I'm just going to turn it into the fossil fuels right now. So there we go. It now has become fossil fuels. There we go. So let's just change that at the bottom right now. Now these have now become fossil fuels. Fossil fuels. And obviously, guys, it's formed over millions and millions of years. And obviously, you need the heat and compression to form them. Then you might be wondering, how on earth do we extract them, guys? It's a very simple thing here, guys. You simply extract them by drilling down into the ground and then extracting it from there. So obviously that's the reason why people actually drill into the ground to take out the oil and the coal and the natural gas from here. Okay, so from here we've talked about the formation of the fossil fuels, but now let's move on to the following. Okay, so how is the formation of coal different to the formation of natural gas and oil? You might be wondering that because we said it could be dead plants and organisms, but how is it different for coal and natural gas and oil? Well, coal is going to be formed from the remains of dead plants. So this one is going to be coal formation, guys. This is coal formation, guys. Is obviously going to create it over here. And natural gas and oil is formed from the remains of dead marine organisms, guys. So obviously this one's going to be natural gas and oil. So natural gas and oil is formed from dead marine organisms, guys. So make sure you know the difference between the formation of coal and natural gas. Okay, so moving on from here, the pros and cons of fossil fuels. The pros are they are readily available. So the fossil fuels are readily available and they are relatively easy in terms of its production. Yes, relatively easy method of production, guys. The cons for the fossil fuels are going to be number one, they are non-renewable, guys. So obviously they will run out eventually. There's a finite amount, so you don't have infinite supply for them. They also produce CO2, which contributes to global warming. So those are what's big cons over here. And coal releases sulfur dioxide, guys, which contributes to acid rain. So on top of the CO2 production, coal also produces sulfur dioxide, which contributes to acid rain, guys. Okay, so let's say we've extracted our fossil fuel from the ground. How are we going to use it to produce electricity? Now we're going to talk about a power station, guys. Okay, so here is our power station. Here's a very simple version of it. We've got our fuel at the bottom, and then above it there's a boiler which contains water. Imagine it being a tank. Then there's a pipe connecting it to a turbine, which basically that's a wheel which can spin. Yeah, it can spin. And that turbine is connected to a generator. That's connected to a generator. So as the turbine spins, the generator will also turn. And then the generator is connected to the national grid, guys, which is how the electricity is transported around the country. So let's say you're given the fuel and it's at the bottom over here. So here's our fuel. Yes, this is our coal, oil, or natural gas. Yeah, so I'll put down the word fossil fuel if it helps. So here's our fossil fuel. You're going to first of all ignite it. So we let it catch on fire. There we go. We ignite it. It's starting to produce heat. So the heat comes out of it first of all. What's going to happen, number one? Well, if you heat up water, what happens is that water will heat up and it will evaporate, turning into steam. So the steam is then created. So then steam is created. And then the steam which is created, guys, it will pass through this pipe and it's highly pressurized. It'll be able to push that turbine, so it pushes that wheel around. So the steam will spin the turbine. So this turbine will, I'll just put some little little things over here. So as you can see, the turbine spins. And as the turbine spins, guys, the turbine is connected to the generator, and inside the generator, what happens is the electricity is created using magnets. There is another video later on we can look at in which I talk about the creation of electricity using magnets, but for now, all you've got to know is that the turbine is connected to the generator, and as the turbine spins, the generator also turns, creating electricity. And look, the key is in the name. It's the generator, guys. It's going to generate electricity. So the generator over here will generate electricity, guys. Will generate electricity over here. And then obviously now you've got your electricity being produced. Your electricity will just flow down here and be connected to your national grid. So yes, this is how electricity is produced, guys. This is how electricity is produced. Pretty amazing, guys, because everyone takes it for granted about how electricity is produced, but now you know how it's produced in a power station, guys. Okay, now from here we're going to talk about a couple of things. We need to also talk about the energy transformations. So first of all, look carefully about the energy transformations. The energy is going to start off in the fossil fuel as chemical energy. So it starts off as chemical energy in the fossil fuel. And then obviously it's turned into thermal energy to heat up the water. It then turns into thermal energy. After it's turned into thermal energy, that is then turned into kinetic energy because the turbine will spin. So that is then turned into kinetic energy. After it's turned into kinetic energy, it then connects to a generator, which will turn it into electrical energy, guys. So electrical energy. So don't forget the energy transfers as well. If they ask you about the energy transfers, make sure you know it's chemical to thermal to kinetic to electrical, guys. Easy stuff here. Okay, so we're done for another session. Let's have a recap right from the top. So today's title is going to be fossil fuels and power stations, guys. And then we talked about the following. So what is a fossil fuel, guys? I talked about how a fossil fuel is made. It is made from the remnants of dead plants and organisms over millions and millions of years. So as you can see in the diagram, we've got loads of dead plants and organisms, guys. And as the layers of soil build up above it, the heat and pressure cause it to turn into the fossil fuels, guys. And as you can see, it's turned into our fossil fuel over here. There you go, guys. That's the creation of the fossil fuels of coal, oil, and natural gas, guys. Scrolling down, we then said, what is the difference between the formation of coal and how is it different to the formation of natural gas and oil? Well, coal is formed from the remains of dead plants, and natural gas and oil is from the remains of dead marine organisms, guys. So that is the difference between them. Make sure that you're aware. Then we outlined the pros and cons of fossil fuels. The pros, it's readily available, relatively easy method of production, but they are non-renewable, and there's a finite amount. There's also a lot of CO2 emission which contributes to global warming, and coal in particular releases sulfur dioxide which contributes to acid rain. Then we talked about how a power station works, guys. So then we said, imagine you take your fuel, then you ignite it. First of all, it's then used to heat up the water. The water then turns into steam. The steam will then turn the turbine. Bear in mind it's highly pressurized, it would turn the turbine. The turbine is connected to the generator which starts to generate electricity. And the generator is connected to the national grid, which then transmits the electricity around the country. Don't forget that you need to be able to be aware of the different energy transfers. Yes, it's going chemical to thermal to kinetic to electrical energy here. And that's it, guys, for another session of CeerazzleDazzle Physics. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe button to keep my channel going. Goodbye and good luck in your studies.